Hi, I'm Navcan, here to show you how and where to ward in Season 14. This will be part 1 of my series, Settings, Knowledge, and Tricks. There's a lot to go over, so let's get started. But before we get into warding, you have to know a few important mechanics and settings that will come up a lot during this video. First, some mechanics. It's line of sight. This is being able to see an area from yourself, teammates, ward, or an ability without an obstruction like brush or terrain. Vision mechanic bush. If you do not have vision in the bush, you cannot see behind the bush. Vision mechanic terrain. You cannot see through terrain, except player-made terrain, such as Anivia's wall. Both of these mechanics heavily affect ward placement, and there will be many examples throughout the video. Next is a setting, range indicators. This is to be able to see how far your ward can be placed, and more importantly, how far a ward can see. The circle around the cursor is how far a ward can see. There are some ward locations that are particularly finicky, and this setting is required to pull off those wards. To enable range indicators, go into your settings, then in hotkeys, scroll down to items, and in either normal cast or quick cast with indicator, place your trinket and warding item and your control ward hotkeys in there. Now that our indicators are on, we can also see cursor colors. If the cursor turns green, that means the ward will be in the bush. If the cursor turns red, the ward will get pushed out from the wall, and there's an additional indicator that will tell you where from the wall that the ward will end up. Alright, now that we have that knowledge and those settings, let's get to warding. There's a lot of reasons to place a ward in a particular spot, but we'll go through the ward tricks and spots that make use of the settings you just did. From the dragon pit, there are 2 wards you can place over the wall to go into the bush. To place into the tri-bush, hug up along this wall as close as you can, and you place it anywhere along this left crack of this rock, and it should go right into the bush. For the bush behind red buff, hug up along this wall as close as you can, and hover your cursor over the brush with a ward, but don't place it. The cursor should turn green, indicating that you can put it in the bush, but it actually can't go in because of elevation visual nonsense. So instead, you have to move your cursor away from the bush until it is no longer green. Then place the ward, and it should go in the bush. Yeah. Riot games, everyone. These wards from the pit also work the same way in the other pit, except this ward into the top tri-brush, you aim for the bottom part of this tree. This ward over the wall into this bush is hard, but it's possible in case there's a threat over the wall. This does not work on red side. Warding from red side bot tri-brush, you can ward into the river pixel bush without stepping out of the bush. This also works in reverse. This does not work in top lane. This spot allows sight of both red side blue and Grom, and if off slightly, you can only see one of them. For this, there is a crack in the ground, and anywhere along this vertical bottom crack before the bend will work. This ward does not work on blue side. This spot is to see the whole path corridor, and if off slightly, the enemy can sneak past your ward. Use the range indicators to see the exact ward placement, and the cursors to make sure the ward is in the bush. This covers the river and both pathways behind the blue buff, but it does not cover this river entrance. This works on the top side of the river as well. This is more of a don't ward like this unless you have to, but this ward will not see the other side of the bush and should be placed anywhere in this area instead. This counts for both sides of the river. That's all for this video. There's so much more to cover, such as laning phase, mid-game, late game, control wards, and more. At the end of it all, these are all just ideas and concepts to place a good ward, but almost any place can be a good ward, so long as it gives you information to make a play, prevent an enemy's play, counter your enemy's play, or plan your next play. If you want to see more, like the video, subscribe, and leave it a comment down below. Any questions may even make it into the next video. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.